Yes. It's a pleasure to come into your homes on your phone. Once again, to come to share. Because we care. And you have to dare to be where you need to be at. Get where you need to be at. You gotta be strong so you can live long. Be a blessing to somebody else. I'm Dr. Timothy Moore, the host of LifeCast Talk. Once again, I want to thank you for allowing us in your home, on your phone and everywhere else. I want you to tell somebody else about the episodes that we are putting down. And then at the end of the broadcast, tell people that I'm subscribed, hit the bell. But I'm a reflection of the power from another world. And I want you to be the same, to be an example. So let's get busy. I want to talk about something that you really need if you plan to be blessed in life, successful, what it is that you need to do. In order to be successful, you have to concentrate. But in order to have a nice concentration, it causes you to consecrate yourself to whatever desire, whatever dream you have to do it. And you need this element. Now I'm going to give you a definition of the word concentration so you can understand what we are talking about today. Concentration is the act of focusing the mind upon a given desire until ways and means for its realization have been worked out and successfully put into operation. Concentration. So once you concentrate the right way, ways and situations come into play that assist you in what it is that you need to do. And when that takes place, it keeps you focused so you can concentrate. And then when you concentrate, it gives you a consecration to a particular desire, dream, whatever it is. You know, I consecrate myself to the Lord, but in order to do that, you got to concentrate. And then what it does is it helps you to develop certain habits. There's something that's called the psychology of good habits. It's good habits that cause you to be blessed, successful, because you have to get your mind in a particular place to make sure that you are focused. So habit, listen, habit grows out of environment, out of doing the same thing in the same way over and over again, out of repetition, out of thinking the same way and the same thoughts over and over again. Once it's formed, listen, it resembles a cement block that has hardened in your mind, in that it is hard to break. So you want to have good habits. You want to have a good habit, and you want to have do things that's good the right way over and over again. That's the only way you're going to be successful. Only way you're going to be blessed. You have to have good habits. Habit is the basis of all memory training, because you are mentally training your mind to focus. You're mentally training your mind. So it doesn't matter if it's a good habit or a bad habit. When somebody smokes, they have learned the bad habit. In order to get rid of that bad habit, you have to have a good habit to replace it. But it is the basis of memory training. You must have, I say you must have good habits. So when you have good habits, it causes you to excel, and it causes you to develop your mind to be successful. So habits, and the way you get habits, you got to concentrate. And then when you get good habits, you consecrate and you are focused. Because what you are doing is you are educating your mind. You are disciplining your mind. You have to have a disciplined mind. That's the difference between people that are blessed, people that are successful, and people that are not. Because chance happens to the prepared. And the way you prepare is you must get your mind focused, but you have to educate it. Listen, the force of education is so great that we may mold the minds and manners of the young into whatever shape we please and give the impressions of such habits as shall ever remain. See, you mold the minds of people, you mold the minds of the young. When people are young at a tender age, you have to be careful what they are thinking about. You have to be careful what you put in their minds because you mold the minds. Just like racism. Nobody is born with racism. You learn racism. Nobody is born bad per se, even though we are born and shaped in iniquity. But you train yourself. Parents train children to be a certain way. They train them to they pick up the habits. And then after they pick it up, they concentrate on it. And they concentrate on it, and then they are educated that way. Focus. But the word of God says you reap what you sow. That's why you have to be careful what you think, because your motives will be checked by God. So you want to have the right mind. You want to have the right education. And there's a force of education, and it has to be dealt with. Listen at this. Except on rare occasions, when the mind rises above environment, the human mind draws the material out of which thought is created. Pay attention to that now. From the surrounding environment, and habit crystallizes the thought into a permanent fixture and stores it away in the subconscious mind, where it becomes a vital part of our personality, which silently influences our actions, forms our prejudices, our biases, and controls our opinions. That's what Dr. N. Hill said. Now, see, you have to be real careful what you think about. You have to be careful of your environment. You educate yourself, and then you have an environment. Notice, concentration happens. And then you have a habit. And then you have the force of educating that habit. And then the environment. You could be in a certain environment and change. That's why sometimes two people can come out of the same environment, but the way they educated themselves and the habit that they took, one person is successful, the other person isn't. It comes from environment. It comes from the way you train yourself. It comes from what you concentrate on. It comes to what you focus on. If you want to be the best, you got to focus on being the best. If you want to be blessed, you got to focus on being blessed. And you got to make sure that you treat people right, because that will come back. That's a habit that you have, and now you're reaping what you sowed. Habit may be likened to the grooves in a phonographic record, while the mind is the needle. So those grooves are there from habit, but the mind is only going to go where the grooves have been set and molded, because you have to focus your mind on the right stuff, so that whatever's inside that phonographic groove is what's going to come out in the output. Because what has been put in, whatever the input, is what the output is going to be. Great God Almighty. When any habit has been well formed by repetition of thought or action. Listen at me. I know you listening. The mind attaches itself to and follows that habit as closely as the record acts, no matter what may be the nature of the habit. So if you got a bad habit, if you got a bad situation going on, that's what happens when people get caught up on opioids, drugs. It's because that bad habit has been put into the tracks of their mind, the grooves of their mind. You can't get out. If you're addicted to something, some people just think people that's on drugs are addicted. No, you could be addicted to anything. You could be addicted to coffee. You could be addicted to sex. You could be addicted to food. You could be addicted to gossip. You could be addicted to being ridiculous. And you have to think about that, because you have to change that mindset. Let's don't just beat up on drug addicts. You got to focus on you doing something that you need to correct. And when you sit down and pay attention to yourself, some people have the habit of praying and not listening to God. Want to talk all the time. You can't hear from God until you sit back and listen. You have to listen at what the Lord is saying. But whatever the habit is, whatever is going on in your mind, whatever you have educated yourself on, that's the way it's going to be. That's why we begin to see the importance of selecting your environment with the greatest of care, because environment is the mental feeding ground out of which the food that goes into our minds is extracted. You can't pull nothing out of your mind if you didn't put it in. You got to watch what environment that you're in. No matter who it is, no matter if you are a young fella that's out on the street, you're in the wrong environment, you keep hearing the wrong thing, people that curse, talk to their children a certain way, the child is going to extract that because you put it in the mind. You have to be careful. Whatever environment has been injected into a house of worship, that has been injected to a business, that has been injected anywhere, is what the environment is going to produce. So you got to understand that is important. Environment. Environment is the sum total of sources through which you are influenced by and through the aid of the five senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. Sometimes your senses are educating you in a way that you should not be educated. Your senses. That's why it's good to have your spiritual senses developed and mature. That is very important, because what you see, you'll emulate. What you hear, you'll copy. What you smell, you'll be used to. What you taste, if you're used to tasting bad food, you'll think bad food is good. And when you get a chance to taste good food, you'll think it's not good. You train yourself to eat at cheap restaurants, it'll be all right with you. You used to feel in a certain way, not controlling your emotions running wild. You educating yourself. Me, I want to eat at a good restaurant. I want to have a nice smell. Poverty has a smell. When I go to hotels, I don't care what it is. I go in there. If I get a sticky feeling, I'm getting out. I don't want to be in no sticky, smelly hotel. I don't want to be around no smell. But it's okay. I don't mind going around the smell to help somebody that want to get up from one level. But I can't stay there. You got to make a difference. So concentration. Come on, say it with me. Concentration will bring consecration, and it will cause habits, environments. Educate your habits. Watch what you hear. Watch what you see. That's why everybody's looking at the news. Just as soon as the news says something, they jump on it. They repeat it. We don't need to repeat everything that the news says. Sometimes they're putting out fear. And now you have that feeling of fear on the inside of you. Fear. F-E-A-R. What do it mean? False evidence that appears real. It's not real. You fearing about something that hasn't even happened yet. But you ought to be excited about your future, about your excitement, about what God is going to do in your life. That's what you ought to do. You ought to be focused. So I want you to realize that. And I want you to share this with somebody that's trying to get somewhere and be something different. Remember to subscribe. Hit the bell. Tell somebody. We ought to have the information that I'm giving you. We ought to have thousands. Come on. I want y'all to be a part of the family. Let's get this network rocking and rolling. Let's get it moving. Let's get it popping. So it ain't going to be no stopping. Come on now. And we can be rocking. LifeCast Talk. I'm a reflection of the power from another world. I want you to be the same. God bless you. Until next week. Bless you. LifeCast Talk with Dr. Timothy Moore.